Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Another stream, another Sunday. The DevOps Lounge, October 17th. How's it going? I noticed, Jexel, you were in there right away. Welcome back. You were just like a bullet as soon as you saw that going live notification. You were just joined and you were just in there. Julius, welcome back, mate. We've missed you. Did you upgrade your capture quality? Does it look better? Keeson, welcome. Proton. I think Proton, I'm not sure if you've been around before. We had Dan in a second, though. I mean, I can see your skin really. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I mean, is that good or bad, mate? You need to let me know. I'm not sure. Should I make it worse? I don't have any mask. Should I wear a mask? I don't know. Should I do, does that help? Now you can see my lights, my key lights. What should I do here? Oh no. Now I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Proton. But you're new to the stream, right? I guess, Proton. I don't think I've seen you around before. It's surprisingly good quality for a Discord stream. Quality is similar to a virtual conference, in my opinion. The quality is so good that I saw the reflection really well. Hey, Adrian just popped in. Good. No. So what we've done is we did a little bit of research on lighting. And it's been something I've been meaning to do for a while. And so essentially the way it works is in order to get really high quality video, you have to, this is just 1080p. It's not 4K at all, just for the record. The camera can literally only handle 1080p. So you're getting a 1080p stream at about 30 frames a second, maybe 60 through the Discord. And all it's doing is going HDMI into a PC and then hitting OBS. But the actual trick to getting high quality is all in the lighting. And essentially what you do is you literally create a complete blank canvas and you turn off all of your lights so you have a pitch black room, and then you use a key light which is slightly above you coming down, and that's pretty much your main light, and then you have a fill light over here. You can do things like you can reduce the fill light down, and then you can create shadows on your face and so on and so on. These are like sort of like filming techniques, cinematographic techniques, and then you can bring that up and you can go really, really bright and get rid of those shadows on the side, and so on and so forth. And so that's called 3-point lighting, and that just makes video quality just pop straight away. And then, of course, I've got some new LED lighting in the back here. And what that essentially does is makes me sort of pop off the back. And so that's why it actually looks better, because the white balance in the camera is attuned to the skin tones, etc. And so it's just a very, very basic lighting setup that just drastically improves video quality just sort of instantly. And you don't even need this is not it's relatively expensive, but you don't even need expensive kit to do it. But yeah, there's actually one additional light missing from this scene, which is called a rim light, which should be on par with the fill light coming down, and it sort of illuminates the hair from the back, and that just helps you pop off that background a little bit better. But really, thank you for confirming that the quality is good. All future videos as well are going to be at this level of quality. I've got the microphone, you can see here. I don't really mind the microphone being visible in the streams, but in the videos that will be just off camera, just to make it look a little bit cleaner, a little bit less cluttered. And then the background will be getting improved in time as well. But anyway, thank you very much for confirming the quality. I'm glad that Julius can see my skin. That's really nice. I don't think it's a very nice skin. I do attempt to moisturize, but yeah, I live in Australia, so you know the sun is a big fireball of death, constantly trying to burn me alive. And I'm a ginger, so I do burn. All right, what have we got on today's stream? It is a Sunday, so we're going to be looking at cloud news, some cybersecurity stuff. We're going to be looking at, for cloud news, we're going to look at AWS, Azure, and the GCP release notes. We're going to be looking at some cybersecurity stuff, some breaches, and then we're going to be handing over to Hacker News, and we're going to be looking at some interesting articles that I found on Hacker News. And then I think what we'll do straight off the bat then is we'll look at a question that Jexel answered here in the channel, which is a very good question around GitLab CI and implementing those, implementing pipelines in a sort of way that doesn't use too much sort of abstraction so that you can show off some skills. It actually, just straight off the bat, Jexel, it does make sense as a question. It's a very good question, and it's a very valid question, but we'll get to that at the end of the stream. All right, we're 4 minutes in. Let's hit some cloud news. So what have we got here? So straight off the bat, we've got CDK for Kubernetes now generally available. I was just talking to Dan about this, actually. He was just on the stream, but then he popped off. Let's have a look. Julius. Yeah, no, he has popped off. And just 1 second. I just want to make sure. One thing I always forget to do is go live in YouTube. So they've all just missed all of that introduction, but that's okay. It's recorded anyway, and they should be here on the Discord anyway. If they're real DevOps pros, they'll be on the Discord. But that's fine. I'm just making sure that's live now. Yeah, that's live. Great. All right, cool. So the CDK for Kubernetes, we were just discussing this with Dan, and it's a very interesting one. So a CDK, in this case, is like Cloud Development Kit for Kubernetes. So what we'll do is we've got this update here from on the AWS product page, but it's actually got a proper web page, and that's cdk8.io. Let me just pop that in the chat. I should pop these in the chat as I go. So this is what I'm looking at the moment. So let's just go to the very front page again. So CDK8 is a software development framework for defining Kubernetes applications and reusable abstractions using familiar programming languages and rich object-oriented APIs. What it essentially means is that Kubernetes, you deploy objects to the Kubernetes API using manifest files, which are written in YAML, yet another markup language, YAML, or you might see abbreviated as YML in file extensions. Both are valid. And what you do is you write that out, and then you push that to the Kubernetes management API, essentially, and then it makes things happen. What a CDK is saying is, I want to write this in Python, and then I want the end result to be a YAML file, which I can then give to Kubernetes. So it's adding an additional layer of abstraction. Now, it does sound like an odd thing that you would want to do. Like, why would you want to do this? Well, actually, it's very powerful. I'll say straight off the bat that I'm not a fan of CDKs at all, and I'll go into that in just a moment, but they are very powerful. And the reason you'd want to do something like this is because you might be in a really complex environment where you want to generate your Kubernetes manifests. Okay, you might want to generate these. You can see it here on the animation as this example animation here. Someone is writing code on the left in JavaScript, and this manifest file is dynamically generating over here on the right as well. So you might want to consume lots of APIs, internal APIs. You might want to check status pages and so on and so forth, then generate a manifest file for some reason. And then you might want to then take that manifest file and make those things live. This is very, very powerful. And I can see why people would want to do this. Just straight off the bat, though, my biggest concern is if I walked into, as a contractor, I move around a lot. So I would essentially move into an organization. So I will go from organization A, where I did blah, and I'll go into organization B, and they'll bring me in and they'll say, hey, Mike, we've got Kubernetes, and we want to do some CI/CD stuff that pushes out manifest files and pushes out to Kubernetes and deploys our apps to Kubernetes for us, or whatever. So if I then turned up and they went, oh yeah, cool, so we've got Kubernetes. We use CDK8s, and we write it in JavaScript. That's a problem straight away because I don't know JavaScript. I know the basics. I can read that code on the left. And I can see there's a class that extends another class called chart. It's got a constructor. I don't know what scope construct means. Scope construct is that type. So it's a variable called scope of type construct. It's a name of type string. That's what I'm basing that on. Super scope name means it calls the constructor in chart and passes in scope and name. And then new web service, so that's obviously declaring a new type. So I can sort of work my way through it because I know programming fundamentals, OOP fundamentals, so I can sort of get my way through it. But I don't know JavaScript. So straight off the bat, that company is at an immediate disadvantage because they brought in a professional and said, help us with our K8s, but then they've abstracted K8s behind JavaScript. So immediately I'm spending a few days now trying to get my head around their code. And that doesn't even include the complexities around what their code is actually doing. It could be talking to really complicated old databases. It could be talking to 2, 3, 4 APIs, and bringing together the result and trying to create some kind of complex object that they then make a decision on what the manifest file should look like. I've then got to understand that logic, and I've got to then work with those business expectations to then update the code to produce these manifest files. So it becomes very, very difficult. And again, I can understand why companies would want to do that if they need to do that. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't. But my biggest warning would be, is that there's a big difference between someone coming in who says, I know how to use Kubernetes, and you go, great, and then they turn up and it's like, well, you've actually got to know JavaScript and how this complex system works, versus an organization that says, we want you to do Kubernetes, and you go, great, and then you get exposed to a directory filled with YAML files and you're just off running straight away because you know what that standard looks like. If you look at the manifest file when it appears on the right there in this little animation, you'll see that it's got very consistently common keywords that pop up. So you got your metadata here, you got name, you got spec, port or ports, you got the selector based on a tag, you got the type of the service, you've got the deployment underneath, you've got the spec, you've got another spec, you've got template. They're all API specific keywords. They are embedded in that standard. And so it's going to be much easier for people coming in off the street picking up a raw YAML file than it is your obscure Rust-based CDK implementation. And I'm pretty certain it actually does support Rust, actually. Let's go to the getting started. I'm pretty certain it does. No, it doesn't. Okay. So TypeScript, Python, Java, and Go at the moment. So I'd be really annoyed if I went into an organization and they'd written it all in TypeScript. So Julius has just said that he's working on creating a Rust CDK. So Julius is probably going to be banned from the server by the end of the day. No, just kidding. No, that's cool. That's really cool. You're really talented, mate. Honestly, you are very talented. The amount of work that you do for the open source community is amazing. I don't have any issues with a Rust CDK, a Python CDK, or a Java CDK. You just got to be really careful because you're creating an additional layer of abstraction, and it's going to reduce that market share of people who can come into your organization and hit the ground running. It's going to slow them down. It's going to add friction. But it is. If you need it, then you need it. Anyway, from a cloud news perspective, that's what AWS have done. They've created a CDK. It's actually been out for about a year, I think. So a CDK was first developed and announced in May 2020. We can see that down here. So it's been out for just over a year now, or a little over a year, which is pretty good. It's open source. It's on GitHub, and cool, really, really cool. I think that could benefit very large organizations with really, really complex setups, perhaps a lot of hybrid and on-prem stuff. So that's the first item of news. I think that's an interesting development. Just be careful if you implement it. Don't try to abstract things too much. Try and use standards that already exist as natively and sort of close to the bone as you can. Very cool. All right. Next news item is that Network Load Balancer now supports TLS 1.3. So that's obviously really important. Just keep in mind that if you upgrade to 1.3, don't stop supporting 1.1 and 1.2 unless you can absolutely guarantee that the clients accessing that endpoint support 1.3, because there are backwards compatibility issues to be concerned with. But this is awesome. This is great. It's a step forward in overall security for everyone. All right, cool. Who else we got in the chat? Adrian, welcome, mate. Arcade, Horizon, and Zenny. Welcome, Zenny. Welcome to the server. Oh, Zenny, weren't you on that other server? Yeah, you were on that other server. Hey, welcome. I thought I recognized your handsome little face there and your name. Welcome to my server. Okay, what's the next item we've got here? New data sets of it. This was quite interesting, actually. I'll come to why this is interesting in a second. So, new data sets available on the registry of open data from the University of Sydney International Brain Laboratory, the Taiwanese Central Weather Bureau, and others. Now, this is pretty cool. So this is literally just a list of huge data sets. So CSIRO are the scientific organization here in Australia. And so what they've done is they've created more additional climate and weather data that can be used and consumed by people. It's even got an ARN right here, which is really, really cool. As you can see, it's in the Sydney region. Here's how to actually get it here, so on and so forth. Let's see if we can actually find documentation. I wonder if we can see just an example of the data. Hopefully this doesn't just contain... Oh, right. Okay. Variable atmospheric variables. Wow. Units daily, monthly. That's pretty impressive. Now, the reason this is really, really cool is because A, it's open data for everyone. That's really, really cool. People can consume this data and they can do all kinds of funky stuff with this data. But also, this is really good if you're wanting to learn a programming language. So we've got Julius here who wants to learn, knows Rust really well and is writing a CDK. If you're sat here thinking, oh yeah, Rust, that's a language that I really want to actually get my teeth into, well, why not write a small parser for this data? Why not look at the US climate normals from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the NOAA, and why not actually parse that file and generate some table output, or maybe a static HTML page that actually renders it really, really nicely. That's this kind of data is where you can actually use this kind of data to learn a new programming language just by simply visualizing it, because there's a lot involved with visualizing. You've got user experience and UI design in visualizing data. What colors should you use? What font face should you use? How should you visualize it? Should I be able to do offline searching of that table right in the browser using a JavaScript engine? So I think that there's a lot to be gained from having access to data like this. And it doesn't even just end here with the climate and weather data. We've got cybersecurity, geospatial, life sciences, machine learning, and regulatory. So absolutely amazing. And because it's on the open data as well, registry, there's more of it. There's way more of it than that. That's obviously just a subset of the data that's been updated recently. So currently 299 matching data sets. So if I type in weather, what happens? Has anyone ever used this? You want to let me know in the chat if anyone has actually ever used this at all. Next rad, real-time unarchived next-generation weather radar network details. Example usage, that's really cool. So even comes with some example usage as well. So this is just a great way of potentially learning a new programming language, just taking some of this open data on huge scale and rendering it. Awesome, absolutely love it. Thank you very much to those who contribute to things like that. That's amazing. Next item, introducing distributed load testing on AWS version 2.0. I didn't actually read this. I just saw the title and I thought that sounds really cool. So let's get that up and running and have a look. So distributed load testing on AWS is a solution that automates software applications testing at scale and at load to help you identify potential performance issues before the release. Really nice. So this would be a good use. This tool would be great when you have a non-prod or you have a QA environment that you load an application into. Your QA team go in and they poke buttons and they play around with things and they try and break it, as well as all your automated tests that do the same thing. This can then do a distributed load test in order to determine whether it can actually stand up to scrutiny. Let's have a look at it. Distributed load testing on AWS. What does this solution implementation do? Benefits load testing. Okay, let's have a look at this implementation overview. Let's have a look what we got here. Taros container image, public ECR image registry. This is quite complicated, actually. They could have made this probably load testing API, Lambda, Cognito, Amplify. That's somewhat confusing. Distributed load testing on AWS. Does it use Lambda? Is that what it's doing? What's that one that actually does the load testing with Lambdas are called? Is it Bees with Machine Guns or something like that? It's like a really cool name. And I think it just spins up loads of Lambdas in lots of regions and then just starts hitting your website with whatever sort of payload you give it. If I remember rightly, that's a pretty cool solution as well. Load testing capability using containers. Test the load capacity of your software using independent ECS on AWS Fargate containers. Okay, well, that answers that question. And customize your application test by creating custom JMeter scripts, JMeter being the Apache project. It's a JMeter, it's an application that you can run and you can get it to record a session and then you can take that session and use it to then replicate that session multiple times over. Automate load test, schedule load test to either automatically begin at specific dates or on recurring dates. That's pretty cool as well. I like that. Having things going on a recurring basis is a good idea because then you might be able to catch problems or degradation in the network that you weren't aware of, which could be a bad sign. Like if you're monitoring and your observability isn't good and you don't actually catch them automatically, then that's probably an issue, but that could help. Awesome. Love it. All right. Now, final AWS bit of item. I go through the news and I look for things that kind of jump out at me. There's so much information from an AWS updates perspective. Amazon EC2 now offers Microsoft SQL Server on Microsoft Windows Server 2022 AMIs. This isn't something that I would personally use. It is something that probably a lot of my clients would be using. And so it's very interesting to see that Windows Server 2022 is now going generally available, and you can now get Microsoft SQL Server going as well. Julia says, what did they even change on 2022? Who knows? Let's look it up. Let's see what happens if we search the web. Now generally available. Will there be a Windows Server 22? Is there a Windows based on Windows 11? Is there a cheat? What's a cheat sheet? Okay, let's go with this one. Cloudblogs.microsoft.com. Okay, big step forward. The operating system is trusted. Okay, customers can continue to securely run their workloads, hybrid, blah, blah, blah. Okay, why upgrade to Windows Server 2022? Advanced multi-layered security. Is this the way they use the VM thing? Edge secured, core server. Okay, so they've done a lot around SMB. SMB is a massive target in pen testing. Huge target. Open discoverable shares and things with credentials on. It's a very popular one in pen testing. Hybrid capabilities with Azure. Okay, that's interesting. Digitally transform their business so they can take advantage of cloud services with on-premise Windows 2022 by connecting to Azure Arc. Azure Arc is that hybrid sort of like bringing everything together sort of thing. So you sort of have just one cloud, but you have a cloud based on your actual cloud servers and also your on-prem stuff as well. Flexible application platform, 48 terabytes of memory. That's what I have. And memory and 2048 logical cores. Yeah, that's what my iPhone has in it. 64 physical sockets for those demanding tier 1 applications. All right, that's pretty chunky. Yeah, that is wow. Yeah, 48 terabytes of memory and 2048 logical cores. That's impressive architecture, actually. Let's have a look. It said it has a new event viewer in the last sentence of the new event viewer. Loads of Windows monitoring experience, such as a new event viewer. Okay. What's this Windows admin? Let's have a look at it. Oh, okay. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look. See if we can get some images. Redesign event viewer. Petri. Go away. Go away. Okay, there we go. Does it have pictures? Whoa. Hey. Windows Admin Center gets redesigned event viewer. All right. Pixelated, sorry, but yeah. All right. Microsoft Server Management Experience, level, ID, graph type, stacked bar. Huh. All right, cool. The old one is really bad. If I remember rightly, it's just this really tiny little crap thing. Where's that gone? Let's go through this because I'm fastly burning through time because we only have an hour. I can go over an hour actually, so don't worry about it. Flexible application platform. Get more from Windows Server on Azure, so on and so forth. It looks like, I would say the answer to your question, Julius, is that they've sort of created a bit of a merging between sort of cloud and on-prem, and they're just helping with that arc thingy, so that it's sort of like Windows Server 2022 on-prem stuff sort of becomes a part of your AWS, your Azure tenancies and things like that. So more Azure focus. Yeah, I'd say that they're looking at making it so that you can much more easily integrate it into your Azure tenancies whilst it's on-prem. I think that's probably what they're doing, as well as these kind of, obviously these updates to be able to have insane amounts of RAM in there and so on and so forth. They're trying to create a sort of unified public-private cloud. I think a lot of these cloud providers are moving to a system whereby your on-prem is now just another cloud. I think that's what they're trying to do. And so they're trying to just create a bridge between those two things. I can understand that to a point. It does make things a lot easier. But I guess we'll see. That's that one. Let's see this. That was the link I clicked. Manage Windows servers from, manage your Windows servers from Azure. So I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do all of this integration. So even on your on-prem, you log into Azure and you can see all of your on-prem servers, and it's just all one big thing. That's essentially what they're trying to do. All right, anyway. So Azure Maps Ios Sdk now in public preview. The Azure Maps Ios Sdk is now in preview with key updates that are aligned with core feature set in Azure Maps Sdk family. Some of the key improvements added to this update include consistent developer experience, align with Android SDK and support data-driven style expressions and vector tiles. Whatever that means, yes, words. Additional rendering layers to get started, blah, blah, blah. All right, that's pretty cool. That's a nice little update there from Azure with regards to the Maps iOS SDK. Generally available IP-based website protection for Azure static web apps. I thought that this was pretty cool. Julia says he didn't even know Azure had maps. No, nor did I. I think they're all jumping on those bandwagons now. It's data, right? Collect data on people. It's great. IP-based access restriction allows you to control access to your website based on IP address ranges. Only users who access your website from the defined IP addresses are allowed to view and access your application and its resources. Cool. Okay. So you run a static web apps and you can put an IP restriction filter in front of it now. That's pretty nice. All handled for you by the good people at Azure. Right, cool. Public preview, AKS support for Kubernetes 1.2.2. So Kubernetes 1.2.2 is the current stable version of Kubernetes with all of its relevant API changes, and Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS. That's not that easy to say. Say that really fast 10 times. It's now supports. It's now got a preview for 1.2.2. Excellent. Generally available service tag discovery. I thought this was pretty cool. So they offer these JSON files that contain all of the Azure services and the public IP addresses right across the board. And previously you could download those JSON files, you could parse them, and then you could update on-prem firewall rules, or maybe you've got services in AWS and you only want Azure services to talk to those services. So you're like, well, it's restricted by IP, but what are those IP addresses and what if they change? What they've done now is they've made a service tag discovery API, so you can get that same information from point A to point B, B being the point that's setting up the firewall, via an API dynamically. And also the API actually, it says that it updates before the service goes live as well. The API regularly updates with new IPs before they are put into use by Azure services. I think that is pretty cool as well. Awesome. Love it. And finally, on the Azure front, Azure Translator now supports more than 100 languages and dialects. And there they all are. We've got Tibetan, Tatar, got Turkmen, Uzbek, Latin. Okay, wow. Mongolian traditional, interesting. Mongolian Cyrillic, that'll be probably the Russian influence there. Yeah, and lots of other languages. Very cool. Excellent. So if you need to translate some Tatar, then there you go. Azure can now do that for you. Let's move on to GCP. Oh, God, this UI. Oh, come on. Oh, these guys suck. If I block that, yep, it doesn't. Oh, all right. Okay, good. It didn't do that last time. It just left it as it was. All right, cool. So now what happens if I zoom in? There we go. That's a tiny bit better. This is a really dumb UI from Google. I'm actually really surprised by this. All right, so we're looking at features, breaking changes, and deprecations on GCP or Google Cloud Platform. So the first feature, we have all new VMware Engine private clouds that now deploy with VMware vSphere version 7.0, Update 2, and NSX-T version 3.1.2. Perhaps that means something to you people out there. Doesn't really mean much to me. I've played with vSphere and then I stopped playing with vSphere and I used something good. Security Command Center, event threat detection, built-in service of Security Command Center Premium launched, and an integration with Chronicle that lets you perform advanced analytics of threat findings. Very cool. A good step forward for security. Cloud Spanner. You can now assign request tags and transaction tags in your application code to easily troubleshoot query performance, transaction latency, and lock contentions by correlating introspection statistics to application code. Woo! Say that fast 10 times. Awesome. So that's good amount of observability there, being able to trace things through the system really, really well. Okay, Compute Engine preview. What time are we on? 12. Okay, we'll give this another minute and then we'll dive onto some cybersecurity news. Compute Engine preview Spot VMs are now available. Spot VMs are the latest version of preemptible VM instances. Use Spot VMs for fault-tolerant workloads to get a 60 to 91% discount over the price of standard VMs. Spot prices can change up to once a month to reflect the underlying supply and demand. Wow, that's quite a discount. Does anyone use these? Is anyone using Spot instances in AWS? I've never really actually done it in AWS. I don't think so. I think one of my clients did. I think they did it for batch workloads. They used Spot instances. Awesome. That's quite a bit. If you can get a 90% discount on some high-end stuff, that's really, really good. Generally available vSAN data encryption for data at rest now uses keys generated by cloud key management service for all new private clouds. Excellent. You can now use workload identity federation with SAML 2.0 compatibility identity provider. This feature is in preview. And finally, Cloud EKM keys can now be used to encrypt cloud storage data. Cloud EKM keys encrypt your cloud storage data in the same way as other customer managed encryption keys. Full stop. Excellent. Excellent. Let's head over to the chat here. Okay, we're pretty quiet today, guys, but that's fine. Not a problem. We had a few new people pop in and they pop back out. ArcID's come in. Hey, mate. Yeah, I'm not seeing any. Yeah, okay, I've got a new mention up here. What's going on? Oh, is that that's my announcement. Okay. Do we have anything else in here? No. All right. Okay, cool. All right, let's jump in then. Let's go over to the cyber security. Which one's this one? Latest cyber attacks. Let's have a look. So we got the. Hang on, did I actually? I'm not sure if I did. Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, okay, let me close that page. So, Oregon Eye Specialist discloses data breach following employee email compromise. Good. The Oregon Eye Specialist, which runs 6 clinics throughout Portland, said the exposed data includes customers' names and one or more of the following data: dates of birth, dates of service, medical record numbers, financial account information, and health insurance provider names and/or policy numbers. Does it got a number? Has it got a size of the leak? No evidence suggests attempted misuse of information. It's an eye-opening pattern. Very nice. Curiosity of the incident. Saw 2 similar disclosures. Okay, so it seems to be Delaware-based Simon I potentially had more than 144,000 victims. Okay. Yikes. Okay. Well, there you go. There's that one. That's one leak. I think that's the only one that I could find. And then we moved very swiftly on to vulnerabilities. Injection vulnerabilities in popular WordPress plugin could expose credentials, allow admin access. This is the fastest cache plugin for WordPress, and it is used by more than 1 million websites. Wow. That is pretty popular. Okay, could allow an attacker to gain access to credentials and take over an admin account. The security flaw in the extension, which has more than 1 million active downloads, were discovered during an internal audit of the software by Jetpack Security. The first flaw, and a SQL injection vulnerability, which has CVSS score of 7.7, which is fairly high, could grant attackers access to privileged information from an affected site's database. For example, usernames and hashed passwords. Depending on the hash of those passwords, it could be quite difficult to retrieve them. But then again, people can be pretty crap at picking passwords, and that's the problem. The SQL injection bug can only be exploited if the classic editor plugin is also installed and activated on the site. Awesome. Great. Well, get that patched ASAP. Is there a patch? Oh, hang on. Research also found a cross-site scripting bug with a CSRF flaw that has a CVS score of 9.6. Exploiting this vulnerability will allow an attacker to perform the same actions as the victim, potentially an admin user, had privileges to enact. Wow. Yeah, at 9.6 is pretty bad. I assume we recommend that you check which version of WordPress Fastest Cache plugin your site is using. If it is less than 0.9.5, update as soon as possible. Okay, so obviously there are patches available, so very important that we get our systems patched there. Prime, welcome to the stream. So you sneak in there. All right, let's have a look what else we got. Israeli hospital cancels non-urgent procedures following a ransomware attack. Yikes. Israel's National Cyber Directorate is urging organizations across the country to bolster the cybersecurity defenses following a disruptive ransomware attack against a hospital in Israel's northwest. Indicators of compromise. What did we see? Which is assisting the hospital's post-incident investigation and recovery has shared indicators of compromise in order to help us with similar intrusions. Okay, do we know what they actually got? Medicals inform a total unexpected ransomware cyber attack. Hospitals can I guess with a ransomware attack, it's less data has been stolen, but you never really know, do you? And we don't see anything here regarding it suffered 2.5 times as many cyber attacks global average. Wow. Okay. According to an American-Israeli cybersecurity firm, Checkpoint, really 2.5 times as many cyber attacks as a global average. Oof. Many attacks against the country are attributed to attackers backed by Iran, including a ransomware attack against call center service company Voice Center last month, a cyber attack that hit dozens of Israeli logistics companies in December 2020, and an attack targeting its water management systems in April 2022. Well, that's interesting as they're getting targeted, obviously due to geopolitics there. And the NSA warns of heightened wildcard TLS certificate risk. Okay, the NSA is warning organizations to avoid using wildcard digital encryption certificates in order to minimize the risk from a new form of TLS traffic decryption attacks. This is why I don't like wildcard TLS certificates. As they cover multiple domains, so-called wildcard TLS certificates remove the need for an organization to obtain certificates for every subdomain they own. While common practice among enterprises, wildcard certs were recently revealed to open the door to a hacking technique called ALPACA, Alpaca Application Layer Protocols allowing cross-protocol attack. Okay, wildcards, the NSA says, wildcard certificates have legitimate uses, but can confer risk from poorly secured servers to other servers in the same certificate scope, warned an alert from the NSA this week. Alpaca is a technique used to exploit hardened web applications through non-HTTP services secured using the same or similar TLS certificate. All right, well, there we go then. So I think that I've never really been too big of a fan of wildcard certificates. I don't like the sort of broad openness to them. I think that just going with a system whereby you just put in just use, just generate a certificate for the specific service that you need. It's pretty easy to do. It's not really that hard these days. It's free in most cases. It can be automated. But I can understand why people would use wildcard. They do have a legitimate use, but by not using them, you just protect yourself from these kind of attacks. Alrighty, so that is the cybersecurity news. Before I go over into just some articles that I found, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I found 6. And then we've got Jexel's question as well that I want to look at. First of all, I just want to welcome Dan Bust to the stream. Welcome, my friend. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Or can I take a swig of my coffee? Excellent. Well, no questions. We are pretty quiet over here. Fair enough. Let's move on then. I found this. GitExplorer.com. Pop that over there. Boom. This is pretty cool. This lets you sort of explore a list of Git commands that you might want to do. So you might want to do a popular one's a rebase, and you might go, I want to rebase a local branch into my working branch. And so it shows you what you need to do. You need to do a git rebase with the branch name. And of course, you can then just copy that command. And I really like this. You can come in, you can do an ignore. I just want to ignore all files in a specific type. So you just do star.file extension. So I think that this is a really, really powerful one. You got your clone in here, existing repo into the current directory. So git clone repo directory dot, and it even gives you a few notes there. With regards to the command. So really, really nice. Cherry picking, being able to commit from an origin branch into my working branch. And it shows you what you need to do. Jexel says, wow, that's a really useful tool. Definitely bookmarking that. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? I really, really sort of like fell for it when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's really, really nice. It's got a light mode as well. And dark mode. And you can slow down that if you, for some reason, you want to slow down that typing. I don't know why, but there you go. Oh, what's going on here? All right, Julie says, HPC things board. I assume you saw this before, and this is nice. Let's have a look. We'll come to these second. They don't appear to have opened in that browser, so you can't see. Okay, we'll come to that. Justify high performance load testing tool. Let me come over here. Drag this into this window. Oh, you can't. Okay. All right, you can't drag into a private window from a public window. Okay, I guess that makes sense. We'll look at this over here. Awesome. We'll come to those in a second. Thank you very much, Julius. So yeah, this Git Command Explorer is a really nice little tool. I think that that's something to be bookmarked for sure. Oh, where's my other window gone? Oh, there it is. Okay, the next one is this can IDM. This is definitely in the works. Something that might interest you, Julius. I believe it's written in Rust. Yes, it is. Cargo files there. So this can IDM is an identity management platform written in Rust. Our goals are a modern identity management platform, simple to deploy and integrate with extensible for various needs, correct and secure behavior by default. Awesome. Security identity is a very complex problem. There are, of course, a lot of solutions out there already. And this is a new one that's being developed. It is in active development. I don't think perhaps it's not production ready, but it's still an alpha and should be treated as such. So definitely don't go throwing this in production. But it's interesting to see new identity tools popping up and here and there. CLI for administration, web UI, RBAC claims and policies, what they're currently working on, and then they're going to be looking at OI, DC, and OAuth and replication. Brilliant. I think that's a really interesting project that would interest many. What else did I spot? What was this other one? Stat ping. This is really cool. So this is for creating a stat ping. Look at that big bright text there. Web and app status monitoring for any type of project. So it's basically for creating a status page like this for a given online website or app and so on and so forth. It moves quite quickly. You can't really see it very well. I wonder if they've got a demo. Do they have a demo? They've got this try impute. Okay. Admin. Let's see what this is. Okay. What's this? Oh my God. It's going crazy. Welcome back. No, I don't know what this is. I don't want to use that. All right. It's going to deploy locally. Yeah, that's all good. Lightweight and fast. Mobile. It's even got a mobile app as well, which I was quite surprised by. I wish they had an example though. User created notifications. It can do all kinds of notifications, easy to use dashboard, run on Docker, etc., etc. Excellent. There you go. Docker encodes automatic SSLC. It's really easy to do. It's just not that hard at all. It's got a Prometheus exporter. That's really nice too. Run on EC2. Security groups. Wow, excellent documentation. Really, really quite excellent. Buy me a Red Bull. Really, really quite nice documentation there. So I think that could be useful for a lot of things. We had that other, what was that? I think it was like that Uptime one. Was Uptime Kuma, was it? The one that Dan was talking about. That was really nice as well. We're going to look at that on a future stream. That'll be a Wednesday stream because that's when we actually look at some technology and we actually play around with stuff. But this is also another one that I think you're going to see on a future stream. So that's really, really... Oh, there it is, demo.stapping.com. That really should just be a little bit more easy to find. Okay, so this is demo.stapping.com. This status page has simple data included. Loading services seems to be taking its time. Maybe the demo's down. That's a great demo, isn't it? The demo is down. Oh no, that's maybe make sure that's not blocking anything. Could be blocking calls. All right, that's not loading. Oh well, that's fine. Well, we'll see it on a future stream anyway, because I actually really like it. Now, the next few are less sort of like tools and stuff like that, and just sort of general articles that I found interesting. So we'll jump them and we'll go to what Julius points out here with DDoSify. That's what this is about. DDoSify. Look at these massive headers. It's about high performance load testing tool. Okay, sweet. So another load testing tool, protocol agnostic, scenario based, different load types. Excellent. It's available via Docker Homebrew. So let's have a look. So how does it then? Okay, easy and simple load testing target. Okay, adding some features. There's a demo at the top and the GIF. Yeah, I'm more thinking, does it just, what I'm trying to establish is, does all the traffic come from your local system, or does it just, can I get it to, because these kind of things where they come from the local system are really good. However, I would definitely say that I would prefer something that creates systems around the world and then hits from different points and then reports back on latency and things like that. I think that that's way, way more powerful for large organizations. But if you've just got a simple thing that on the local LAN and you just want to test sort of the compute capabilities of an application and you want to remove the network, then I think this is a really, really good idea. These are definitely useful tools, without a doubt. Let's have a look. So Danbus says, "Hi Michael, this is my first time joining the DevOps stream. Before you end, could you tell me a little bit about when future streams will be? Is it every Saturday or Wednesday?" Excellent question, Dan. So they're every Sunday and Wednesday, but I'm in Brisbane, Australia. So for you, that's Saturday and Tuesday. So if you're in the US, and I assume that you are, then because most of my audience is, then for you, yeah, okay, cool. So for you, it would be Saturday evening and Tuesday evening. So they generally run at, if I bring up a Savvy time here, I will show you how I operate. So if I pop in here, pop in Brisbane, and then I just put in PDT. So then they stream start at 11:30 a.m. So they are 11:30 a.m. So they are 6:30 p.m. in Pacific Daylight Time in PDT. So that's on that's a Saturday for you. So 6:30 Saturday and 6:30 Sunday. So I'm just a little day ahead, and they're the same time every single week. And on Sundays we do this. We look at cloud news, we look at cybersecurity news, and we look at some interesting tools. And then we have a little bit of a chat at the end. And then the Wednesday streams will be none of all of that, and it'll just be me looking at a particular technology or implementing a tool, even if it's something like this, just DDoSify or the stat ping and things like that. You're welcome, not a problem. Prime, glad you like the Git Explorer. That is a really useful tool, right? I think a lot of people are going to like that. What's this other thing, Julius? This ThingsBoard IoT thing? ThingsBoard is an open source IoT platform for data collection, processing, visualization, and data management. They need to have a big, colorful thing along the top. There's like ThingsBoard, and it just like knocks your head back. These big, like multicolored things. Whoa, look at this. Okay. So you essentially can aggregate lots of things together, like if you've got your own little weather station outside, and then you've got a thermostat, and then you've got an air conditioning unit, and you've got smart lights, you can just bring all of these things together into a dashboard. That's pretty cool. Oh wow, a rules engine. Oh my god. Smart energy. Huh. Because I live in an apartment in a relatively older block. I own the apartment. I'm not sure how I can get smart energy into it, actually. If anyone has any advice on that, that'd be great. But I do have a small fuse box that comes into the apartment. I don't know if it's at that point. Can I get that replaced and have some smart added there? I really don't know. I don't know anything about electrical engineering at all. I just pay people to do it because it's really dangerous and scares me. So getting started. Okay, very cool. Maybe something. Are you using that, Julius? Is that something that you have running? Do you have lots of IoT things? Do you have an IoT device embedded in your head? It wouldn't surprise me. Use Home Assistant. Okay, I use a Home Hub. That's about it. Okay, yeah, I use not Home Hub. I use Apple's Home Assistant. I just have a lot of LifeX bulbs at the moment, and an Apple TV. We can control it with Siri and turn the lights on and off, and that's been really, really, really useful. And then I want to add in a few more lights, and I want to add in some security cameras. If you have any recommendations for security cameras that are HomeKit compatible, I would really, really appreciate it. Battery operated is fine. It has to be Wi-Fi. There are some that I have found from some online resources that are definitely look pretty promising. You only need to replace the battery, or recharge the battery, I should say, maybe once or twice per year, which I'm happy with. That's all. Funny enough, my favorite thing for home network for myself is actually Open Connect server for VPN stuff. Fair enough. All right, I'm just going to go onto these articles. This was really quite interesting. So these are more just interesting articles that I found. They're not necessarily related to DevOps or cloud tech or anything like that. But this is a wearable microphone jammer. I could play the video and you would be able to hear the sound, but essentially the idea is that it can jam any sort of microphone on a smartwatch or a smartphone or a voice assistant such as Alexa or Home Hub and things like that. You just obviously it's just a prototype, but this device will just send out ultrasonic waves that basically work at a particular frequency that humans cannot hear, but does absolutely smash those microphones and introduces just simply obnoxious levels of white noise so that they can't hear you. Pretty cool. Quite a pretty cool amount of technology that's going out there. I like how they've even put the stuff inside of, they've even word error rate, they've even put stuff inside of like plastic boxes. So if you put the phone inside of a plastic box, then the word error rate is just over 40% with the jammer on. Paper sheet doesn't block it at all. So effectively then, if you want to listen in on someone with your phone and get the best possible chances of using a jammer, just put the phone in a plastic box. All right, cool. That's pretty interesting. The next one was a study warns Android phones from Samsung, Xiaomi, and others are spying on users. What a surprise. Something to just be aware of. I don't know whether you're ultra paranoid and you run that really is a Graphite OS, whatever it's called, a really, really super secure one, or you have a black phone or whatever. But this is just something to maybe just have a read of. I'll post that in here. I keep forgetting to post the URL. Sorry, I'm really crap at that. I should be posting them in here. So this is something to just keep your eye on, and whether it concerns you or not. You might not care. That's fine. and how to safely think in systems. Obviously not going to sit here reading all of this. I just thought that this was a good read. And then you got some interesting book reviews here. And then the person themselves has written this very, very elegant looking book called An Elegant Puzzle: Systems of Engineering Management. So I think that that's really nice. And it is a good read as well. So that's definitely worth it. Awesome. We are on 12:21. Technically got about 8-9 minutes left. So, but we can keep going after that. If people have questions, it's totally fine. So now we're going to come over to Jexel because he's the only one that's really asked a significant question. So he says, while the stream hasn't started, blah, 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 I feel that using, let's have a look. In a personal project, I am using GitHub Actions for a complex multi-repo CI/CD solution. Sorry, I'm off to the side there. You can't see me. I feel that using GitLab CI would be superior as it would provide better visibility into the pipelines and better support for environments. But I'm afraid that my project won't look as good as it could on the resume or as impressive as I'm using pre-existing solutions as opposed to reinventing the wheel with GitHub Actions. If I'm using GitLab CI and Kubernetes, then why am I not using Auto DevOps? You're saying, yeah, you want to reinvent the wheel. Here's my opinion on this. I think you should reinvent the wheel. It is true that if you go into an organization and your boss is sat there and they go, how do we achieve X? Then obviously, how do you achieve X when there's time and money and you have customers to serve? Well, then you achieve X by using the pre-made solution. If it does what you need it to do, you're happy with the cost of it, it does what you need it to do, it's going to serve your customers, it's going to get everything done within the next few days, then obviously you just do it. It's a no-brainer, right? You use the pre-existing wheel. But while you're trying to improve your skill set and while you're trying to prove to other people that you're capable of building complex systems, I think it's perfectly okay to essentially almost start from scratch. It's like this, right? Oh, you want to learn a programming language? Okay, well, show me a hello world, first of all. You're not going to turn around and go, well, why would I do that when there's a library that does that for me? And I'll just import the library, call a function, and then it prints hello world for me. Like, you're not going to do that, right? You're going to write the hello world from scratch because you're learning something new. And as I said earlier about those open data sets from AWS, you're going to want to implement, if you're going to want to learn a programming language, you're going to want to implement them directly. So you're starting with a fresh file and you're writing it out. And it's exactly the same here with CI/CD. If you've got a Kubernetes cluster over here and a CI/CD solution over here, and you want to make this talk to your Kubernetes cluster, if there are things that do that for you automatically, then sure, you can go into a business, into an interview, and you can say, okay, well, I think that you could just do this. You could just do that. You could use a solution and you'd just be off the bat. But while you're trying to get that interview, while you're trying to get eyes on you as a professional, I think it's perfectly reasonable to build that bridge between those two platforms yourself manually using whatever tools you can in order to show that you can build complex and elegant systems. You can document them well. You can explain them well to someone who might be more junior to you. You can explain them to management. You can explain it to management in order to explain to them why they should do it that way, and so on and so forth. So my advice would be to reinvent the wheel, but also understand that there are already existing wheels that a business is going to want to use to save them time and money in the long run. So as long as you're aware of the fact that there are existing solutions and you're utilizing them first in a commercial environment before you go bespoke, then you're absolutely fine to go bespoke while you're learning something. I hope that answers the question. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Where am I reading that from? Oh, sorry, Julius. Yeah, no, it was a previous post up here. I think that that was really clear. You're welcome, Jack. So it was a good question. It was a really good question. And it does make sense because it's like, the only thing I would say, like, don't try and, unless you want to, don't try and obviously invent like your own Kubernetes, for example. Like, that's a bit crazy. You can certainly give it a try if you really, really want to create your own Docker swarm or something. And literally like create the orchestration engine just out of interest. Sure, go for it. If that's what takes your fancy, give it a shot. But ultimately, no company is going to really do that. Realistically, no company is going to hire you and say, build us Kubernetes when it already clearly exists. So from a learning perspective, absolutely. Yeah, I would say absolutely get on with it for sure. Dan is typing away. Look, I do tend to finish up at 12:30. It's an hour stream. I can go further if you want to. Just ask away. Dan says, I agree. Good answer. It is for your portfolio. I would definitely follow the show your work method instead of just a bullet saying I enabled auto DevOps. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you can just what you could say in an interview is, okay, how would I handle that? Well, you just turn on auto DevOps and GitLab CI. It would integrate with the Kubernetes cluster. And then so when you need to run a CI job, it spins up a pod on the Kubernetes cluster for you in a particular namespace that's all locked down and ready to go. Problem solved. But of course, if you want people to even know that you know about that, then you would write a blog post and you would say, here's a caveat. I know auto DevOps exists. However, I want to see if I can do this, or rather, I'm going to show you that I can do this. And then the rest of the blog post is how you implemented that yourself in detail. And that demonstrates that you know Python, you understand how GitLab CI works, you know how to use HTTPS APIs to talk to the Kubernetes API in order to spin up a pod, or maybe you're dynamically generating manifest files. Maybe that's where the CDK8 comes in, that you then use to dynamically generate the manifest file, which gives you the pod that then runs your CI job. If you manually do all that, then an employee can see that you can build complex systems. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Did anything else take my fancy? Could have sworn. No, I don't think there was anything else. All right, cool. We've got lots of people in the stream today. Don't know how the YouTubers doing. I don't look at the stats in the background at either. Either people show up or they don't. Julius, how's my skin been during the stream? Has my skin been very clear? Have you been able to see my skin? Got a few new peeps. A bit better. A bit better. Brilliant. My skin's got better throughout the stream. Is it maybe because I've been drinking water? I don't think it hits the skin quite that quickly. Adrian is on the line and has been very quiet. Been quiet, mate. Bet you're not even actually there, are you? Bet you're not even listening. All good. Since motion since motion does match it less clear, does make it less clear, not as sharp as before, which is sort of good in this case. Okay, so I just keep moving then. Is this what I need to do throughout the stream? I don't think that's going to work throughout the stream. All right, cool. It doesn't look like we've got any other questions or anything like that. So let's have a look what we got here. I'm gonna do the dong if you guys gonna ask any more questions or anything on your mind. We've done a bit of cloud news, we've done a bit of cyber news, we've looked at some interesting tools. Everyone seems to love the fact that Git Explorer exists. GitExplorer.com, I believe the address was GitExplorer.com. It has a HTTPS endpoint, so it is nice and secure. Your privacy is being protected, ladies and gentlemen, as you look through those Git commands. All right. Well, that's it then. And that's the end of the stream. Thanks so much for showing up. This has been the DevOps Lounge stream. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful. It'll be back again, as I said, it'll be for you in the US on Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. PDT, or if you're one or more, well, I guess that's a time zone you can base off of. For me, it's AEST, Australian time, so that's East Coast Australia and Brisbane, and that'll be 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and we will be looking at, I haven't actually decided yet. I'll probably look at EKS CTL because I need to get an EKS cluster up and running. What I'm going to be doing actually is superwishlist.com.au is a really stupid app that I built that's always going down. I need to rebuild it. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make that a production grade app. I'm going to rewrite it in probably Python Django. I'm going to get it up in a production grade EKS cluster, and then I'm going to share the internals of that cluster. And I'm going to make it so that I'm going to share all of the EKS CTL configuration, all of the Terraform around it, the AWS organizations. We're going to look at all of sort of like the Prometheus, Grafana monitoring and stuff like that. We're going to look at any other managed AWS services being used to secure it and lock it down and monitor it, and traffic flows and so on and so forth. And so that will be really, really useful, I think, in the long stream to be used as a production ready tool that we can all look at and share and learn from. Let me know if that's something that sounds good. All right. Thanks very much, everyone. And thank you very much. See you later. Bye. Bye. Very nice.